Gentlemen, I'm going to start the learning sponsors. Some of us need to get home today for New Year's.
Well, that's not today, that's tomorrow.
Yeah. So, are you learning sponsors? A year of learning, Martin Lippman and family in memory of his wife, Malka Chana Bat Pinchas. Friends of Herb Jeremiah Tzvi Ben Zev. Carefully. Hi. Friends of Sam Coleman Shmuel Ben Yaakov. Friends of Gideon Lazinski, Mordechai Shlomo Ben Meir. Bella and David Adler in memory of her father, Eliyahu Ben Yosef Kohen. Those who were inspired by our Rebbetzin in Emerita, Sheila Shapiro, Sarah Estamalkabat, Meshulam Yisachar. Gail and Leslie Kaplan in memory of their parents, Mushka Sprinza, Bat Yosef Chana, Chava, Chanan Ben Moshe Eliezer, Pesha Bat Shmo Yitzchak Halevi Vitzipora, Isa Yoab Ben Moshe Cohen Vachana. Rexford Friends of Gladys Sherman, Gutta Bat Meir. Michael Klein and Friends of Judah Klein, Yehuda Tzvi Ben Chaim. Marsha Brana in memory of her husband, Harav Yerachmel Ben Shmuel. Friends and family of Arthur Ritholtz, Mordechai Yudel Ben Baruch Leib HaKohen. Friends and family of Sigi Bessler, Shalom Shraga Ben Dov. Friends of Marvin Weinstein, Mordechai Ozer Ben Yisrael Aharon. A month of learning by Haran and Mel Haller, in memory of her mother, Malka Rachel Bat Yehuda Leib. Judith and Michael Poretsky, in memory of her father, Yaakov Yitzchak Ben Hirsch Feivel. Isaac and Eda Novik, in memory of his mother, Miriam Gittel Bas Chanuch Henach. A week of learning by Manny and Carol Miller, in memory of his father, Tzvi Hirsch Ben Menachem Mendel. Leila Bessler, in memory of her father-in-law, Dov Berish Ben Meshulam Shraga Fivish. Oscar and Michelle Mol, in memory of his father, Shlomo Ben Yitzchak, and his mother, Rachel Bat Naftali. Okay, today is the 31st, but in case it wasn't read yesterday, there was a motion. Carol Gassner gave a day of learning in memory of his mother, Miriam Bat Yaakov Zev. Eliza Poleyev in memory of her husband, Arav Yisrael Ben Arav Moshe Aharon. And then Hashem is heaven Aliyah, Crank Rafael, Velti Yeshua Hashem Otzliah, and Chol B'nai Yisrael, a good Ben Shkia.
Okay, both say good morning, Shabbat Tov. We are on the, we're a few lines into the new page already. We are Daf Nun Tes Amud Aleph Abaya. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 11 lines from the bottom, from the top on the last word on the line. I wanted to just two things. We know that right. Amar by Rabbi Yosef Glili, Rabbi Shmuel. There we are. So two things. Yesterday we essentially established a baseline that according to Chachamim, we put everything in context. I mentioned yesterday in damages in the context of the field, etc. And I told you the Torah is extremely beneficent, and that in all kinds of damages, we don't take the absolute value of the damage. It will destroy people. It's destructive. You understand? The payer could be destroyed for life from one court case. And the Torah is beneficent, allows people to straighten out. They can pay, and everything's in context. It's that we don't have to wipe out the person with the payment. Now, so in general, the Chachamim's opinion, everything is in the context we said essentially of Shishim. I mentioned okay. I'll bring an anomaly from yesterday in a minute. But now is another point. We have a thing called a shita. A lot of times the Gemara will gather together all the people hold a certain halacha that we don't hold. That's called a shita. What's a shita? In other words, all these people hold together the halacha that we don't paskin together. We have to know shitas. You have to know in general who holds what, etc. It's very important. Why do we have to mention always? Why do we mention always? It's a big thing to mention something in the name of the person who said it. One, they had this chus, they brought it into the world. But a second reason why you always want to know who said something, because even though what in general every intelligent person knows that we evaluate the argument and not the person who spoke. So why do we have to know who spoke about it? The answer is because when you know who said something, it gives us a whole world of data to evaluate it, because I know that the same person said something else and said this and said that. It's quite possible that all those things together are really a system within that person, so that I can understand it. But over here, it's a little bit ironic. Here we're taking a system of what of a bunch of people we don't hold. All these people hold together the halacha that we don't hold. Amar Abai says Rabbi Yosef Glili, Rabbi Yishmael, Amar Davrechad. Both Rabbi Yosef Glili and Rabbi Yishmael said the same thing. Okay, what is that? That remember that they said in yesterday's brisa that I'll look at even unripe produce or undeveloped produce and evaluate it the way it would be. What would it be worth when it's finally ripe and when it's finally finished? That's a big yeah, it's a big deal, right? Rabbi Yosef Glili, we already said that Rabbi Yosef Glili told us that we evaluate the produce, the early one, like its ripe price. Rabbi Shmuel, the time, where do we see Rabbi Shmuel held such a thing? So we saw the following thing: when let's say a person went into another person's field and he damaged by eating or by trampling. We've had this earlier. So we learned the pasuk says "Meitav Sateyu Meitav Kam Yishalim." You have to pay the best of the field and the best of his vineyard. So what does it mean? So this opinion, Rabbi Shmuel, Meitav Sadeyu Shal Nizak or Meitav Kama Shal Nizak. That's the word of Shmuel. You have to pay the best that's owned by the guy who got damaged. We have to see what that means. The other way we all familiar with Rabbi Kiva Omer. He says, nah, it's not coming to evaluate the damage according to the best of the damagee. It's coming to say that when the damager pays, if he's going to pay land, he has to pay with the best quality land. It's the same price no matter what you pay. The worst quality, if you owe 100, you pay 100. The answer is people prefer to get good quality land because it sells easier. It's more current. So even though $100 of good land is the same $100, $100 of poor land, but $100 of good land can be easily accessed more quickly than $100 of bad land. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's it. So now what? So and he said, well, and certainly if you damage Hegdesh, you'll have to pay with the best of your land. Okay, and don't think that Rabbi Shmuel held like Rabbi Yidibah said. You might have thought, what? Achla, Kagon, Shachla, Aruga, Ben Arugo. So what? We thought that Rabbi Shmuel said what? Let's say the animal ate a row amongst the rows. We had this earlier. The animal ate a row, but we didn't get to the extent. We saw from afar that it ate a row. We don't know if it was a very lush row or a very weak row. So we don't know the value of that given row. So we'll say, oh, listen. So we'll say what? You'll say, oh, let him pay. Let him find the best one there is, and he'll pay that rate as if he ate the best one. Okay, we don't say such a thing. Okay, we don't say that because we never say that. My time, what's the reason? Because we have a rule that nobody can collect money from somebody without absolute proof that they have a right to take that money. Ella, so what did Rabbi Yishmael say? He said what? The mate of the lakame, similar to what we said before, the same thing we said by Rabbi Yosef Glili, what it's going to get, even though at the level it took now it wasn't fully matured or fully ripened. What is that? What's going to come? The way that it's actually at the time when you take it up at the time of the harvest, what it's going to be worth. Tremendous chiddush you have to pay. So when is it that the other way? When is it that we say what we said in the brisa? Okay, we said in the brisa. Rishon Yehuda says what? When do we evaluate how much the land was worth with the produce and with it and without it? It's only when he ate the plant before it produced the fruit. No, he ate the grape shoot, the grapevine shoots and the leaves of the dates. Okay, there's no fruit. Oh, okay. However, so now look what is the inference from there? We can make an inference. Make an inference. What's the inference? When it hasn't produced fruit at all, that's all. That's an inference. But it has produced at all. Okay, but smadar is when you first see the fruits, the leaves fall off, the flower falls off. The flower falls. You see little buds. Okay, smadar. But once it's already out, so then what? Then we have to pay already. We have to pay it at the value as if they were fully ripe. All right, now we got a problem. So the inference from the ratio is what? That once you see the fruit at all, you pay for the fruit, for the finished fruit, and not for the beginning fruit. Ema Sefer, look at the end. It seems to contradict. Ochla, Pagim, Obosar. Pagim, Obosar are developed fruits, but they're not, but they're ready. You can see the fruit, but they're unripe. Okay, he said, what? You see where that specifically there that you see them as if they are harvested. To make the inference the other back to the middle, smadar. But if it's just the first second they can recognize the fruit, there we do the other way. We don't see it as if it's a fully developed fruit. We evaluate the property. So now it's a contradiction in inferences. Amaravinas Rina says, don't worry. What you do is you have to eliminate, and similar to what I've mentioned to you before, we have to eliminate the middle category. How do we do it? Okay, you like this. Karoch v'tani, here you squish it together, you crunch it together, and you see it all at once. Don't stop to make the inference. It's all one straightforward statement. When is it true the one that you evaluate in terms of the land and not in terms of what was eaten? It's when it ate only the plant of the grapevine and the plant of the date, but not the fruits. Now, but if it ate even at the first peeking out of the fruit and continue eating, don't make an inference. And paginabos are even ones that are clearly recognizable but not fully developed. In all these cases, from the first second or even more developed, so we see them as if they are grapes that are going to be harvested. So now it's not a contradiction. I got a problem. If that's really true, Rabbi Shimon Yehuda, the way you said Rabbi Shimon Yehuda now, Rabbi Yeshua, he's going to have said the same thing as Rabbi Yeshua, because Rabbi Yeshua said what? Rabbi Yeshua said always what? Do we always look at the fruit as if it were fully ripe? Exactly. So now both are holding the same thing. Gemara says, now here's what the difference is. Very interesting point. No, the difference is whether you can claim, ironically, let's say when a person's animal damages undeveloped fruit. So okay, he damaged the person. So we can argue how you evaluate that fruit. But he also did the guy a favor. Why is that? Because his vine or his plant would have continued giving nourishment all that time. So he saved him the depletion of the plant. Yeah, but you saved the depletion of the plant from now until the ripe time. So so the question is, should we discount him, even though he's going to pay, let's say, even if he paid for the finished fruit? Okay, good. But should we subtract from the payment the amount that he saved the damagee for the vine not becoming weakened, or for the date palm not becoming weakened? So that's what's different between the Velo Masaime. So one of them holds you do discount and one holds you don't, Velo Masaime, but we don't know who's who. We can't tell. Get out of here. We certainly can know. I can identify exactly who said what. I can tell you what Rabbi Yeshua said, and I can tell you, and I can tell you what Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda said. How do I know? I'll tell you why. Okay, Montana. Okay, the Chayish Kachash group. And I'll show you. Who was the one who says what? That we do discount the amount that he saved the damagee for the vine being weakened. Rabbi Shimon Yehuda. I'll prove to you it's Rabbi Shimon Yehuda. I know for sure. Okay, it's the second opinion. The Tanya, because we learn when it comes to it, when a guy raped a basulos, he has to pay 50, but he also pays damages. He has to pay damages, like he has to pay damage, he has to pay pain, all these things. Rabbi Shimon Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Shimon Asya. So he said, "Ones eina mashalim esatzai." He said, a guy who raped a woman, he doesn't pay for the pain of the sexual act. Why? She's going to get married one day. One day she's going to become non-virgin. So what's the difference of the pain? Whether the husband's going to call it pain later, or he calls it a pain now. So he says, you see what? So therefore, what? You can't charge him. But they said back to them, they said no. They said that that's not true. Okay, it's not true. It says it said you cannot compare the pain of being raped, of a consensual sex, to being raped. You're right that the girl, when she loses her virginity, there's a certain amount of pain, but there's no comparison between the normal sex act and being raped. You can't compare the two things. And therefore, what? So for sure, he does have to pay. Okay, therefore he does have to pay. Okay, but the main point is what we saw that Rabbi Shimon ben Yehuda, what he considers the savings from the future to be discounted from the present damages. So the same thing over here. He's the one who said it. Amar Abaya. Hani Tanoi, Rabbi Shimon Yehuda, Amar Darachad. Again, we're going to list together a group of Tanoim, and what Rabbi Shimon Yehuda said, that they all agreed on the same thing. That they claimed that we discount the future expenses from a person who damaged an earlier growth. Rabbi Shimon Yehuda Hadam, Rabbi Shimon Yehuda, we know he said what he said. For example, when it came to rape, or when it came to paying for the finished fruits, but discounting the money that he saved the owner of the vine, that it didn't become weakened. Hani Tanoi Mahi. What are the other ones? We know what we do. Where's the other Tanoim who hold that we discount? The Tanya, because we learn Rabbi Yossi Omer Nechichai. Here, the famous case. The guy caused the miscarriage of the woman, so he has to pay for the damage of taking away the pregnancy. So he said what? So he says Nechichai. When he pays, you have to discount. He says, listen, okay, I owe you for taking away the pregnancy, but I saved you the money. You don't need a midwife. Pay me for I have to discount the price of the midwife from my payment. I saved you money. And I say, oh man, he says no. The Chibazonah, but I says not only that. You can also take off the money that he has to feed her more. Yeah, whether for the pregnant woman or a woman who just gave birth has to eat more, or even a woman who's nursing has to eat more. All those different things. Somewhere along those lines, you have to pay more. I saved you all the extra food expenses for the wife. Mandam and Chaya. So anybody who says that you're allowed to discount, if you're allowed to discount the midwife, you're certainly allowed to discount the food. But Amando Menachim is honest. When I said food, you'll see why he doesn't necessarily hold the midwife. The discount the midwife, no. Why? Because he says to him, eat the sedide pigicha. He could say, listen, you didn't say a midwife. My wife is very independent. She gives birth by herself, and she doesn't need a midwife. So you can't say that I necessarily would have taken a midwife. You can't discount it. Okay. Well, now this is really important, and I mentioned this yesterday. In logic and in halacha, we differentiate between kamus davek and kamus nifrad. What is kamus davek? Here you buy a thing by the pound, by the kilo, etc., etc. Kamus nifrad is you buy a thing by 1, 2, 3. You buy 3 horses, 3 this. Not you don't buy horses by the pound, or you don't buy. Yeah, exactly. Even a dozen eggs is still one. A dozen eggs is still one.
Right.
Yeah, it's one. Now, so it's very important, and it's important in many places in the halacha. It's also very important in rabbinic decrees. So, for example, that from the Torah I mentioned yesterday, that when that forbidden substance can be nullified by numerical superiority, whether in a majority, sometimes in 60, sometimes in 100, sometimes in 200. But we have ways. Okay, we have ways. Well, some of the I shouldn't have said all those, but anyway, from the Torah, you have such a thing as a thing being nullified. Legally, it's nullified. It doesn't exist. But there are times when the rabbis will say, you know what? Even if from the Torah things are nullified, we don't allow them to be nullified. Why? Because we can't get them out of your head. Psychologically, they occupy a place in the mind. And as far as the mind is concerned, they did disappear. And the person's mind thinks it's still consuming what? For example, something that's forbidden. And the rabbis say in those cases, rabbis have a whole list of things that you can't nullify midrabanan. What's an example of one of those things? Davar shebeminyan. Things that you count. So things that you buy one by one, even though in a given mixture from the Torah, they would be nullified. The right say, listen, when you count things by 1, 2, 3, ones are very important. What's an example? You know that for example, it's a very beautiful thing. I'm sorry to remember who said it, but that when a person cries over a kosher person, Hashem takes the tears and he counts them and he puts them in a special storage. And what's the point? And so I can't remember who says it, unfortunately. He says that's another example. You see, things that are counted, they can't be nullified. They're so precious, they're so valuable. So now we looked at a date palm. So the rabbis won't let it be nullified. Now we looked at a date palm. You notice yesterday it sounded like we departed from the rule. Usually everything is on the basis of land. Yesterday, even when we had an argument, let's say the Reish Galusa, who didn't seem to be such a learned person, unfortunately. Sometimes the Exarch wasn't always good. They weren't always good guys. So they sometimes said he does dinner to Pasar. He does Persian law. He doesn't know what he's doing. But even the rabbis, what they did, they took one date palm in. He evaluated the date palm alone. The rabbi said what 1 in 6, 1 in 3, or 1 or we said we'll see even 1 in 60. But the point is what you're looking at the date palm, not in the context of what, not in the context. So we have to see a date palm as a little bit different rule. Today we're going to see. I didn't explain exactly, but you see. So we have to mention it's very important. But this point that I told you is very important throughout the Talmud and throughout the halachos. You have to look at the type of measurement that you're using, yes, and what's called. I just don't know. I actually don't know how to say it in English. I learned it in Hebrew. Kamus because I learned it from the Ramchal. It's kamus davek and kamus nifra. Things that you buy by the pound, by the kilo, by the whatever, by the weight or by the box, exactly, by weight or measure, as opposed to what by give me 3, give me 6. Okay, so over here it's been a little dicey with the date palm. Exactly. So take a look here.
Different kinds of date.
Oh, that's going to come up. Papa Rav Huna Braid Rav Yeshua Avon Uvda Kavasi to Rav Nachman. So Papa Rav Huna Rav Nachman, they did like Rav Nachman, Beshishim, and they evaluated 1 date palm in 60 date palms. Lish Nachrina, but in other language, no, that's not what happened. Papa Rav Huna Braid Rav Yeshua Shamu the Diklo. Nah, that's not what happened. They took a piece of land that would be a land with 60 date palms and figured the date palm in the land of 60 date palms. You understand the difference? That's exactly what we talked about. So yeah, at first, at one point, it looks like it's really 1 in 60, so it'll be unique then. The other way, not. It'll be really what? It'll really be the plot of land, a land of 60 date palms. Yeah, a land of 60 date palms to 1 date palm, which is it's a completely different evaluation. Now, the Hilchos HaKavasi, the Papa of Buddha, the Yeshua, B'dikla Darbar. So we do follow them. When is it that we follow what that we follow that we follow the halachas 1 and 61? It's when it's a decal, an Aramean decal, which is what it's not very it's not very valuable. Okay, and therefore we don't do it by itself. But the halacha actually does follow the Reish Galusa, it says here, particular parsah by the Persian day what, which is so valuable by itself, you can actually evaluate it by itself. Interesting point. Okay, there's a lot of argument about what everything I just said, how to actually picture the case. Yes. Now we have a very important halacha. Oh my goodness, a very important incident. Eliezer is the era, okay, having beside Masana with me. In their times, most people wore, if they didn't wear white shoes, they wore shoes at least with white laces. Nobody wore all black. Either they wore white shoes, or even black, but always at least white laces. Nobody wore all black. So having beside Masana, he wore all black shoes. That's shocking. Okay, but Koi B'Shuka Denadon, he's standing in the shuk and out in the public. Okay, doesn't look nice. Okay,
dust. Shows all the dust.
What?
It shows all the dust.
That would be that's not the reason. Eshkachu the Bay Eshkalusa. So the members of the House of the Exarch found him. They're the ones that kept order. He says, but Amrlin, they said to him, "My shon haim sanoi." He says, "Why are these shoes different? What are you doing?" He says, "Why are you wearing different shoes?" He said to him, he says, "I'm mourning for Jerusalem now." There's a big problem. Okay, he says, "Amrule." They said to him, "At chashivas disabuli Yerushalayim." Are you a great enough person to be mourning for Jerusalem? What does this mean? A person does have a right to mourn. The answer is that throughout the Talmud, we are very careful about posturing, showing off, being haughty. It's damaging for a lot of reasons. One, it's damaging to the person themselves. When a person behaves at a level that's not fitting for themselves, they damage themselves. They hurt themselves. He wants to go. He wants to go and act like the big rabbi. He's not big enough to act like the big rabbi. He's gonna hurt himself. This guy. He sees the big rabbi fast. He's gonna fast. When the big rabbi fasts, the rabbi continues doing mitzvahs and learning Torah and doing all the good things he's supposed to do. When he fasts, he's gonna be knocked out for the day. What good is it for you to fast? When I was younger, we barely ever let anybody fast. If it wasn't a fast that the Torah said to fast, the rabbi said to fast, we barely let anybody fast. My rabbi, bless him, we did word fast. What could you're going to fast and all day long? You're not going to learn Torah. You're not going to do anything. What could you do? What could you? You should be fasting. The guys who used to fast, you didn't know they were fasting. Right. You didn't know they were fasting. They did everything like before. You didn't know you're going to fast. You're going to be a big tzaddik. That's it. No learning. No this. No that. What should you be fasting? They shouldn't be fasting. So one posturing is not good for the person. As number one. It's also not good for other people because other people think that should be the norm. Being stringent in this case should be the norm, and it's not good for everybody else. So now you're establishing as a norm for normal people what isn't good for normal. You're hurting people. It's not good for them. It's not good for everybody to be so stringent. It's not. You think it's good. It's not good. It's not good. They got people busy. Oh, they won't eat this thing. They spent half a day traveling to get this particular hechsher and this thing, etc., etc. Meantime, all the mitzvahs they could have done for the day are gone. I'm dead serious. I said, why? You want people who can handle it. It could be such a person. My Rebbe, blessed memory, would say, I hated it when he said it, but he was right. I hated it when he said it. It was embarrassing. But we would ask him about, should we do this and that? He would say, your religiosity is not on a level where this will make a difference in your life. I hated it when he said it. It was a put down. I said, but of course it was true. Of course it was true. You're not on a level. This makes a difference in your life. What are you being so stringent for? We used to learn about, if you read the Musa books, one of the things, person has to do precious. You shouldn't indulge yourself. So there's a 22-year-old kid should have 3 candies. No, only 2. Yeah, idiot. That's not your precious, Bobby. 3 candies. Eat the candy. Shut up and do your mitzvah. Yeah. But that's not your problem. That's not what your test is. You make it believe you're big tzaddik. You're not there. You go speak properly to your wife and don't get into arguments, etc., etc. And stop counting how many candies you're eating as if you're a big tzaddik. Behave properly. So number one, it's bad for the person. Number two, it spreads stringent behavior among people who it's going to damage. You're going to make the norm for you're going to hurt people. So who can be stringent like that? If a person will. So why is it that a big person can do it publicly? Can do it because then everybody goes, oh no, that's special for people who are a person already on that level of piety. That person, yeah, that's it. Oh, and you probably know we mentioned the other day. The Chavetz Chaim was famous
for business. Essentially, I have a house with no furniture, nothing in there, nothing in the house. So when I was very young in Yerushalayim, a guy gets married and he puts in his house one chair and one table. They said, "What kind of house is this?" And he says, "No." It says, "That's how the Chavetz Chaim did it. That's how I'm doing it." No, 6 months later, he was divorced. Why? The guy was an idiot. He wasn't the Chavetz Chaim, and his wife wasn't Mrs. Chavetz Chaim. He's a dummy. The guy was a dummy. He's a dummy. He's an idiot. That's right. The Chavetz Chaim did that because that was absolutely correct for the Chavetz Chaim. That wasn't the Chavetz Chaim posturing and trying to be. The Chavetz Chaim wasn't trying to be a big tzaddik. He didn't need it. He was on a level. That's it. So he didn't indulge himself where he didn't need. But you have to know, and therefore it's none of your business. And if your friend has a big couch or a big sofa or a nice car, it's none of your business. You don't know what everybody needs. His wife needs it. His kids need it. He needs it. It's none of your business. Let him do his business. So stop looking at everybody. It's nobody's business when anybody spends their money on. The guy can have a fraction of your money, and he's right to get a luxury whatever he gets. So that's what that family needs. It's none of your business. Nobody knows what anybody needs. The guy can be the biggest tzaddik in the world. He needs it. What do you know? And sometimes other ways. Sometimes the guy can afford everything. He shouldn't do this. He doesn't need so much. What's he doing? Why should you indulge yourself if you don't need it? It's nobody's business. So the answer is, I hope I made my point clear. So for big guys to do stringencies, at least people know, look, wait, but maybe that's only special for big people. But when a small guy starts to do that stuff, it's bad for him and it's bad for the world. It's bad for the world. And that's why they police these guys.
Yeah, shouldn't a person emulate the Chavetz Chaim?
Yes, but not when it's not fit. You have to know which parts to emulate. That's what you have to know. Of course, you're correct. Of course, you're right. But you have to know which things to emulate. That's what I'm trying to say.
Chaim teaches you to limit yourself.
Exactly. For yourself. Yeah, exactly. We don't. Here. When I was younger, I don't know which, but I did a survey of great rabbis in Yerushalayim. This is true. I really did. Why? Because I went around because I said miut shena here, lessening your sleep, having a minimum sleep is one of the ways for a person to grow in Torah.
Yeah, you can't.
How much? So I did a survey of all. I went to Gdolei Yisrael, the Rabbi Yerushalayim. Essentially, I got pretty much the same advice. What is that? What do you mean? You do each person a little. Here, if you could do without 5 minutes, okay, do 5 minutes. Take off. You know what I'm saying? At each person at their level, your level. Would you go? Oh, could you do it 5 minutes more? Okay, 5 minutes. You don't have to stay up all night to do the job. You'll be knocking yourself up. What good is it? I saw this all the time. The guy stays up. No, he's gonna stay up till 2 in the morning. He's learning. The next day, he's walking around like a dead man. What good? So all next day he can barely look. He can barely see anything. So what's it? Yeah, boy. Yeah. So what'd you gain? That's what I'm trying to tell you. So essentially, the consensus is what here. Each person at your level, okay. So you'll take off. You'll learn extra 2 minutes, an extra 5 minutes. That's all. And then you develop according to who you are. It's so important. Don't play games. Don't show off. Forget about and showing off is for sure bad. But forget about the showing off problems. You're hurting yourself and you're hurting other people. That's what's up. Forget about showing off. I'll tell you one more thing quickly. I'm not late. I was once in Tel Aviv. There's a street in the middle of the city, but it's like a highway. I forget the name of the street. Is that what it is? Yeah. So it's like a highway. It's in the middle of the city. So one time, I'm embarrassed. I'll tell you the truth, though. I stepped out to the street. I did look. I stepped out into the street, and so I didn't. But the car came to a screeching halt. You know what I'm saying? And I jumped back, and of course I was in shock. And the car continued going. The traffic went, and before I could collect myself, you know, saying I was an idiot. An old man grabbed me by the arm. He started to yell at me. He said, "What's the matter with you?" He says, "Don't you care about anybody else? You only care about yourself." He says, "If you would have been killed by that guy, it would have been fine for you." He said, "You would have been dead. Him for the rest of his life, he's have to suffer because he killed you." He said, "If you're so stupid, don't care about yourself, about your own life, at least care about somebody else. Don't walk out into the street." It was such a good Muslim. The guy was 100% correct. I was wrong. He was right. You understand? There's no question about it. The guy was 100%. Yeah, I said, that's what I say to you here. But it's bad enough to be haughty and to be conceited. It's horrible. But okay, forget about yourself. Okay, you shouldn't be an idiot. But care about other people. If you care about other people, you're gonna hurt everybody else if you keep doing this stuff. Okay. So then what happened? So they were so upset with him. One. So Amrullah he says, "Are you so big?" Savar Yohara Havas. They thought this was conceit. This is posturing. And what? Posturing. And then what? Asyura b'chavshua. They put him in jail. They have to figure out what to do with him. Yes, they can figure out what's going to be. Amrullah, he said, Amalu Gabra Rabba. He said, no. He says, I'm a great Talmud Chacham. He says, I'm a great scholar. I am a person who it is fitting for me to be mourning for Yerushalayim. Amalei ben Dina says, how do we know? Prove us you're a great scholar. Amar says, okay. So he gave him the famous challenge. We've had this before. He says, Oatum boy minemes. Okay, he says, great. Either you ask me a question or I buy Menachem. So I'll ask you a question, one or the other. Amalei, so they said to him, they said, boy, okay, he said, you ask us. We'll take the challenge. So he says to him, hi man the kites kufra. A guy who cut down dates of his friend, but they're early dates. They're just beginning to grow. They're not ripe. Just beginning. He says, my Mashalom, what should he pay? Amrula. So they said to him, what do you mean? Mashalom Bekufas. He pays the price of unripe dates. He says, what do you mean? He says, Vahabu Tamre, how can you pay that such a cheap price? They were gonna be dates one day. They took away the potential growth. Amrulay, so they said to him, okay, you're right. So they said, Mashalan de Tamre. He says, right, they should pay for finished dates. He said to him, well, I love Tamre. He says, hey, you can't, he didn't take finished dates. So you can't pay regular dates, you can't finish dates. Amrulay, so they said to him, okay, hey, Malana. They said, okay, so you tell us. You said, I can't figure it out, you figure it out. Amalu, he said to him, what? Bishishim. He says, what? You have to evaluate them, what? How much the land with 60 date palms is worth. A land with 60 date palms, how much it's worth, and we figure what, taking away these dates. No, if you're going to sell a piece of land with 60 date palms, you took away these dates, just like a row. You take away these dates, how much the whole plot's going to sell for? A very small amount. Amrulay, they said to him, Man Amar Kavasech. So they said, who said like you? Amalu, he says, what? Hashmul Chai. So look, Shmuel's still alive. His Beis Din Kayim and his Beis Din is around. Shadru Kamei to Shmuel. Why don't you send the question to Shmuel, see if I'm right? Amalahu. So when they sent him, Amar Shmuel said to them, Shapar Kamaluch, he said correctly, Bishishim, you take a piece of land with 60 date palms, and you say how much now when it would sell with or without these dates. Yeah. And they let him alone. They said, okay, you're right. You can go out and behave the way you want. Rabbi Shimon, he proved this point. That's it's a problem. Okay. Rabbi Shimon says, okay, we learned in the Mishnah, our Mishnah. Rabbi Shimon says, if you ate completed fruits, etc., okay, what he has to pay, he said what you don't, he's the opposing opinion. He didn't hold that we evaluate in terms of land. He said you evaluate the actual produce. My time, what is the reason? How did he get that? He says, because he doesn't learn the drasha and the pasuk the way we learn. We learn from a pasuk to evaluate everything in terms of the land, but he didn't. When it said and he consumed in another field, which we learned where the rabbis learned that meant what, that we evaluate not the fruit itself, but in terms of the land, a much smaller price. He says, well, that is only true. Yes, he says, I'm willing to admit that, but what fruits do you I not to be completely rejected, he said, what fruits do you evaluate in terms of the land? Fruits that need the land. So if the fruits are not ripe, then you evaluate the land and the loss of the fruits because they still need the land. Honey, but once they're ripe fruits, since ripe fruits don't need the land, we have to pay for them by itself. Beautiful division. Here, yeah, it makes sense.
If it's a small piece of land and there aren't any 60 in it.
So we say we first of all we take a land. It depends. We said we take 60. We take a base saw in 60 base saw. We remember yesterday. This is from yesterday. So we see yesterday we take 60 base saw, then we evaluate one base saw in the 60, like 60 acres. We evaluate 1 acre, and then we take the acre and say how much with the row and how much without the row. It's really 60, yeah. Huh? Using a slide rule, exactly. It's quite a big one. I mentioned, I spent time yesterday trying to reiterate. It's such a beautiful thing because I'm telling you, because in a society where you nail every guy, it's not good justice, it's bad justice. You don't want to wipe out a person, even a person who did wrong. Hashem doesn't do that. And here, when we sin, Hashem says you do tshuva, you're going to be okay. Hashem lets you back. If in your court system, a guy does wrong, if the law is going to absolutely wipe him out, what do you accomplish? What do you want to grind the guy into the ground? He'll never be a good citizen again. He'll never do anything. So even where a guy did damage, I'm serious. Wipe him out. Here, a guy, God forbid, I thought he took a guy's arm. Here, what would a guy sell his arm for? Millions and millions. Nobody ever pay that off. Whoever damaged him, his life is over. His life is over. He'll spend him. He'll have to sell the kids. I'm just whatever. Here, his life is over. His life is over. No, so Torah says what? Even he did a grave damage. Nevertheless, we're going to take the damage of what the guy was worth with the arm, without the arm, which is a fraction of the cost of an arm. But that because Hashem doesn't want to. What's the word to annihilate? Yeah, Hashem doesn't want to annihilate a person.
Thing is bankruptcy in halacha?
No. Not real. No, not really. You don't. When you don't have, you don't have to pay, but you have to. But you got it. But yeah, when you get, you pay. You don't. If things are not wiped out, we don't wipe out the wipe out the debt. My holy grandfather of blessed memory, he was a beautiful guy. He was a beautiful guy. He really was. He was he was poor, really poor. Mamish poor, and he knew lots of Torah. He always considered himself that he was a big Amar, which he wasn't. Huh? Yeah, he died when I was a little kid, but I knew him. I loved him, and he was a very humble man, and he knew a lot of Torah, and he sent all his boys to learn. That's all he cared about. He used to come to the yeshiva, and he thought he's in Amma Arts. He thought it was in Amma Arts, so he used to come. He used to give him $5. He used to hide around the corner to give them $5. That they should learn, because he felt he wasn't. I felt he wasn't fit to come into the base medrash. He thought he was in Amma Arts, and he used to hide and to give them a few dollars, to whatever they needed to pay, But I know he knew a lot of Torah. When he was dying, so he was dying, and he came to Baltimore where we live. So my father rented a little house for him and my grandmother. And so he had cancer. He was so sick they couldn't do anything. They sent him home. He's home. He's in a hospital bed. So one day he asked my father for some svarim. He asked my father bring him some svarim. So my father says, "Come, we'll go to my father. Bring him the svarim." So I bring him the svarim. He's in the hospital bed. My father gave him the svarim. He took them to his chest, and he hugged them and he kissed them, and he did a little dance. I'm telling you, I saw. I was a kid. I never forgot my life. Anyway, so he was poor. He had a chicken stand. He sold chickens. So the mafia bombed him. He didn't pay the protection money. They bombed that. They destroyed his chicken stand. And he paid back every penny for years. Because he lost his schara, he lost his merchandise. He paid back every penny to the wholesaler, whatever. Paid back every penny. He was not. He was. They don't. That's how they do. Those were the tzaddikim.
Judaism doesn't
Huh?
have. Where did he live?
In New York, they lived in East New York. I think everybody lived in East New York then. Brownsville, yeah. Anyway, Anyway, those are the guys. Their word was a word. Money was a penny was a penny. They didn't play around. Those guys. They were good guys. Amrav Huna bar Chia, Amrav Yirmiyah bar Abba. Okay, Don Rav Karimeir. So he says what? He says. So that was the art. So he said Rav did like Rabbi Meir. That what? He passed like Rabbi Meir. Okay, Upasa Kilchos Rishim, and he also did Allah like Rishim. Both of these were not the accepted opinion. Both of these were not the accepted opinion. What do you mean? Where do we see it? Don Rabbi Meir, he did like Rabbi Meir, the Tanya, because he said, Kasav L'Rishon. Now, this is an interesting case. A woman gets her ksuba. All the land of a man is subject to his wife's ksuba. If he dies or if he divorces her, she has to get her ksuba. What if a guy says this is apotike? He says, "Listen, I'm designating this land to your ksuba. Okay, this is special for you. This is special for you. Yes, she agrees. Yeah. So now he says this is special for ksuba. Then he writes a shtar. He wants to say he sells it to somebody. So now he can't sell it. She has a right. She has no right. What if she signs the paper? So everyone here. What if she signs the paper? So we have a principle that a woman's going to sign. Women want to please their husbands. That's the way it is. So she can say afterwards. She can say, "Listen, I signed, but it's not real. It was under duress. It's shown bias. I want to please every woman wants to please her husband. Even though I signed, I never agreed. But so the first paper, it's easy. If it happens one time, she can always say, "Listen, I didn't mean it." Okay, but look what happened. The Tanya here. Look where you see Rav Meir. The Tanya, because we learned if the husband, because of Rishon, a guy first wrote to one guy a sale of her property, of the property that she has a lien on, below Chosmalo, and she didn't sign. Lashani, and then he writes it, and so it was no good. Why? Because he had no right. Lashani, then he writes to a second guy, Chosmalo. The second time she did sign. So that now the question is what? Of the ksuba. So here what? So he said what? That she lost her ksuba. Okay, why is that? Because she can't say what she can't say, oh, look, I'm going to collect. Why? Divrei Meir, that's where Meir holds. Why? Rabbi Yehuda Meir Yecholi Shetamar Nachas Ruchasis Labali. Rabbi Yehuda holds no. Even the second time around, she can say what? No, I just did it to please my husband. I never agreed. Okay, but he says no. Look, the second time around. Right, exactly. Because right, but if the first time, if she, if the second time already, what? Right, exactly. But if the first time, if the first time she didn't sign, and the second time she can't say, "Oh, look, I only signed." If you signed to please me, you would have signed the first time also. I could have signed the first time. That's the difference. Okay. He says, "Atem malachem levoila." Okay. Malachai. She says, "I was trying to make him happy. What are you coming to me for?" That's number one. Upasa Rabbi Shimon, and Rab also paskin like Rabbi Shimon. He hit the Hadatan like Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says, "Ochla peris gerumim, mashalames peris gemurim." He says, "What if you damage a full fruit, you pay full fruit. Im sa if it's one sa, you pay for a sa. Im masai. See, also you see paskin like a Rishon. We have a new Mishnah. Hamagdish, a guy. Now this is almost a repetition of a previous Mishnah, but we have a chiddush. Okay, that what? A magdish, but so sort of if a guy was piling his grain into his friend's field without permission, and then the animal, the owner of the field, ate them. Potter, the grain. No, a guy put grain without permission into his friend's field. Exactly, and Harry's ox ate it, and the owner of the field's ox ate it, so he's exempt. Okay, it's exempt. And if the owner of the field's animal was damaged by slipping in them, etc., well, the guy who put the pile of grain in is obligated. We learned this before. But if he had permission to put it in, then the owner of the field is obligated for everything. Now, didn't we learn this before? Yes. But you remember, but there was an argument. Remember, what was the argument? We had an argument between the rabbis and Rebbe. The rabbi said, whenever you give a person permission to come into your field, you automatically assume responsibility. You take over. Rebbe said, no. Even if you give a guy permission to come in, he's not exonerated of responsibility unless you specifically say yes. Okay. So now the Gemara says, "Lema tanan look Rebbe." So wow, maybe our Mishnah is not like Rebbe. Why? Okay, Rebbe, because did Rebbe say, Omar? Didn't he say, "Achi kabbalah balabayis lishmar"? He said, what didn't he say until the balabayis accepts to guard the animal? So you see what in our Mishnah seems to be saying, the second he gave permission, it's automatically assumed that the owner is responsible once he gave permission to come in. Amar Papi says no, it's not necessarily against Rebbe. But not the Beidar. This is talking about with the public watchman. You have in a certain area, everybody puts their grain in one field, and the owner of the field is the watchman. So here's the case for what? Here, everybody always puts their grain in the field. So therefore, what? They came to Amarle, I have a God. The second said they're coming in and pile up your grain. I'll enter. It's as if he's saying automatically, bring it in and I'll watch it for you. Because everybody guards their stuff by this guy. Furthermore, we had this also earlier, but it's going to get the beginning of it again. A guy sends out a fire into the hands of what? In the hands of somebody who's incompetent. Okay, Potter, he's still exempt. Potter b'dinei, and now that incompetent went out and lit a field, whatever it is, he's exempt from human law. He doesn't have to pay in the base din. V'chayev b'dinei shamayim. He's still exempt in human law. Well, okay, but he has to pay in the Shemaim, which is what he has to get. According to Rashi, since he tried to hurt his friend, he didn't do the right thing. So the Shemaim is still going to punish him. Okay, we'll see in a second. Shalach biat pikeach, but if he sent, let's say he sent out a competent person, a pikeach chayiv, no matter what, the competent person is obligated.
The shliach is the bound.
Yeah. The competent one that he sent. Now, how do we decide who's the final maker of the fire? One guy shows up with a fire. One guy showed up and put the wood on the fire, and then the fire went out in a normal wind that damaged the other guy. Okay, maybe it's Eitzim Chayiv. So who's obligated? The last guy, the guy who brought the wood. Why is that? Because the fire wasn't going to do anything without the wood. It wasn't going to go out. Right. Let's say a guy first brought the wood, and then the second guy put the fire onto the wood. And maybe it's orchav. The last guy's obligated, the guy who brought the fire, because it wouldn't have gone out. The wood wouldn't have done any damage without it. Okay, now what about if the flame wouldn't have gone out without being fanned? And then a third guy came and he fanned the fire. Then the fanner is obligated. Now, okay, because why? Because it's in a case where nothing would have happened without the fanning. Lipsa ruach. Okay, let's say a case the other way. Where it wouldn't have happened, then a wind came out, and even an uncommon wind came out, and it fanned it. So then Kulan, then everybody, all the three people who brought are not obligated. Why? Because they didn't cause it. Right, even a Ruach and Mitzuya, we're saying, yeah, it's a big machlokes, but I said it that way. Yeah, a Ruach and Mitzuya. Yeah, Dafka, yeah, I meant a Ruach and Mitzuya, yeah, Dafka Ruach and Mitzuya, yeah, according to that opinion. Reish Lakish made the Chizkiah. Right. Otherwise, they should have worried. Right. Reish Lakish made the Chizkiah. Reish Lakish said the name of Chizkiah. Lo Shanu. Okay, he says this law that we said that if a guy sends out the fire in the hand of an incompetent, that he's exempt from human law. El Shemashal Gacheles. Reish Lakish. That's only where he gave him a coal. Okay, because a coal on its own is not going to do anything. Veliba, and then the incompetent fanned it. Okay. Because since the coal that he gave him would have done any damage, he wasn't really obligated to worry that the incompetent was going to fan it. Avol masalo shall have it, but he gave him an actual flame that doesn't need to be fanned, and then the incompetent went out and lit something chayiv that he was obligated, even in human court, because he should have worried about it. He should have known. My time and why? His own actions caused it. Once he gave him a flame, that's enough to do damage. He should have worried about it. Rabbi Yochanan Amar says no. Afila masalo shall have his potter, even if he gave the incompetent a flaming fire. Yeah, my time and why? Because still the grasp, the holding of the incompetent still did it. In the end, he still caused the fire because he had to go take it there to the grain or whatever it is. Below mechayiv, yeah, we had this before. Below mechayiv, gavza, he's not going to be obligated. Even though he gave him a flame, he has to give him flame. Okay, he has to give him gavza. He has to give him dry wood. Silta, he has to give him kindling, like little twigs. Okay, shraga and a lit candle to make the fire. Okay, that is the only case where it's for sure his action, and otherwise he's not going to be obligated in the human court. That will stop. That will call it a daf. We'll continue my shkach. Have a wonderful day.
Spoke about knowing your proper place
Yeah,
in
yeah.
life. There's a story about the shul.
Yeah.
It's Arab Yom Kippur. They're about to say Nidre.
Yeah.
And the president of the shul, big man, gets up, prostrates himself in front of the Arn Kodesh, says, "Bonus Shalom, I'm nothing."
Yeah.
And the Kavir, very important
Yeah.
man, gets up. Bonus Shalom, I too am nothing. There's a poor pauper wearing crappy rags. And he sees that these two men, important people, get up and they're nothing. He runs up there and says, "I too am nothing." The Kavir turns to the president and says, "Look who thinks he's nothing."
That's a who?
That's a modification.
Yeah.
They say
It'd be funny if it wasn't Phil.
5 years.
That's right, to be a nothing. There's a similar one. The guy goes to the Bardic. So he says, I spent 5 years in the Bardic.
If you can grab that. Thank
Thank you, sir.
Then you can trade the story out as long as